I've always had a love for tall tales. Those grand, sweeping stories that stretch the imagination. And let's be honest, the truth. They take history, mix in a little myth, sprinkle some magic, and suddenly you've got a narrative so captivating that you almost believe it actually happened. And today, my friends, well, I've got a tall tale for you. One that involves war, espionage, pastries, and of course, coffee. Let's rewind to Vienna. No, not the sausages. Austria, 1683. The city was under siege by the mighty Ottoman Empire. And when I say under siege, I don't mean Steven Seagal. I mean the kind of epic, multi-month, we're gonna starve you out kind of situation that makes modern traffic jams look like a minor inconvenience. But why Vienna? Well, Vienna wasn't just a picturesque European city with stunning architecture and classical music. It was the medieval version of an all-you-can-eat buffet for an empire hungry for power. It was a vital stronghold and a gateway between Western Europe and the expanding Ottoman Empire. As the capital of the Habsburg monarchy, it stood as a symbol of Christian Europe resisting Islamic expansion. If Vienna fell, it would have opened the floodgates for Ottoman expansion into Central Europe, threatening key trade routes and political power structures. At the time, the Ottoman Empire under Sultan Mehmed IV was at the height of its power, stretching across 3 continents. The empire's influence spanned from the gates of Vienna to the deserts of North Africa, and its ambition knew no bounds. Vienna, sitting smack dab at the crossroads of Eastern and Western Europe, was basically the medieval equivalent of an Amazon fulfillment center, rich in resources, culture, and way too many people wanting a piece of the pie. And much like a certain bald billionaire we know today, the Ottomans wanted total control, minus the space rockets and questionable labor practices. Controlling it would mean monopolizing key trade routes that supplied Europe with luxuries like spices, silk, and yes, coffee. Inside Vienna, coffee was more of a curiosity than a staple. While whispers of its existence had reached the city through Venetian traders, it hadn't quite caught on yet. Enter our unlikely hero, a humble baker named Franz. Now, Franz wasn't just any baker. He was up before dawn, kneading dough while the rest of the city was asleep. Meanwhile, outside his bakery, Vienna was in dire straits. The Ottoman forces had completely blockaded the city, cutting off supplies of food, water, and essential goods. Nothing could get in or out, and resources were running dangerously low. People were rationing what little they had left, and the air was thick with desperation. Franz himself was feeling the pinch, stretching his dwindling ingredients further each day, wondering if each batch of bread might be his last. One fateful night, while shaping what might have been the last loaves he'd ever make, Franz noticed something strange. Soft rumblings beneath his feet. Now, it's not like he had unruly neighbors partying beneath him. He was already in the basement, scraping together whatever ingredients he had left to keep the bakery running a little longer. He figured something else was happening. Something more nefarious. Were the Ottomans digging their way in? As he listened more carefully, his worst fears were confirmed. The Ottomans were tunneling under the city walls, planning to launch a surprise attack from below. They were determined to break Vienna from the inside, having already starved the city for weeks. Now, Franz didn't panic, because when you've been surviving on stale bread and watered-down beer, existential threats don't quite hit the same. Instead, he rushed out into the night and alerted the city guards, his flour-covered hands waving frantically. The guards, now fully aware of the imminent breach, sprang into action. They reinforced the tunnel's exits, setting a deadly trap for the Ottomans. When the invaders finally broke through, expecting to catch the defenders off guard, they were met with a barrage of swords and muskets. It was a slaughter. The element of surprise had been flipped on its head. And as the surviving Ottomans retreated in disarray, they were met by the Polish forces who had been alerted by Vienna's leadership. The mighty Ottoman Empire, once seen as an unstoppable force, had met its match, all because of a baker. As for Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa Pasha, well, let's just say things didn't go too well for him. In the aftermath of the disastrous defeat, he was executed by his own people. his head placed on a pike outside the Sultan's palace as a warning to future military leaders. Don't mess up this badly. The people of Vienna were, understandably, thrilled. And how did they celebrate? Well, Franz decided to get a little creative in the bakery and came up with a brand new pastry to commemorate the victory. A dense, slightly sweet, crescent-shaped pastry called the Kipferl. It was shaped like a crescent moon, echoing the symbol on the Ottoman flag. The Kipferl wasn't just delicious, it was a symbol of resilience and triumph. A tasty reminder of their victory over the Ottomans. Wait, there's more. The Ottomans didn't just retreat, they fled like a bad date that suddenly forgot their wallet. In their rush to get out, they left behind all sorts of treasures, silks, spices, and yes, several sacks of mysterious unroasted beans. This was the spoils of war, baby, and Vienna was about to get a caffeine boost they never saw coming. At first, the Viennese thought the beans were camel feed because, context. But soon, they realized these beans held something far more valuable than livestock chow. Naturally, curiosity got the better of them, and after a bit of experimentation, probably involving some poor soul accidentally chugging some weird black sludge thinking it was soup, they discovered coffee. And just like that, Vienna's famous coffee house culture was born. Now, the Kipferl didn't stay in Vienna for long. When Austrian Princess Marie Antoinette married into the French royal family in the late 18th century, she brought many Austrian traditions with her, including her beloved Kipferl. But the French, being the culinary geniuses they are, couldn't resist tweaking it. They introduced layers upon layers of buttery goodness, applying their lamination techniques to create the delicate, flaky masterpiece we now call the croissant. Of course, not everyone believes this whole tale. Some historians argue that the croissant existed in some form long before the siege of Vienna, and that coffee was already making its way to Europe through trade routes. But who are you going to believe? Some historian or me? And come on, what's more fun? Believing in a world where bakers save cities and pastries are born out of spite? Or boring old facts? I'm Jonathan Echeverry, and this was Curious Coffee.